And America can no longer afford Democrats. It's the doubling down on stupid edition in tonight's preamble. As you all know, the founders of our nation envisioned the states as being laboratories of innovation in the states. Various policies can be tried there. If those policies work, the rest of the country's states or even the federal government may adopt a policy or a version of it. In the People's Republic of California, the Republican Party is virtually dead there. So California is the purest expression of anti-American socialism and despotism one can find in America. Now, bear in mind that New York and Illinois are constantly challenging California for that title. California's government so hates entrepreneurship, so hates prosperity and jobs, that it instituted a law, AB 5, that heaps massive expenses onto those who work in the so-called gig economy. As is always the case with absurd laws passed by legislators who couldn't run a lemonade stand, AB 5 has a lot of unintended and serious consequences. In the middle of a supply chain crisis, in the middle of food shortages, AB 5 threatens to take 70,000 truckers serving the ports of Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Oakland off the road. The California Trucking Association says these independent truckers may be sidelined so that they can comply with onerous, wasteful paperwork so that California's government can get its evil meat hooks into yet another industry. Here's the kicker. California's stupidity won't be confined to just California. The already catastrophic supply chain disruptions will be made worse and felt all over our country. That's why it is my belief that these major ports should be relocated to more reliable, level-headed states like Texas, so that America's supply chains won't be threatened because of unintelligent left-wing lunacy. This is only one example of how Americans can no longer afford Democrats. The party comes by their insanity honestly. Look at their leader, Joe Biden. A poll appearing in the tired old gray lady, the left-wing New York Times, a paper populated with experts on leftists, revealing an overwhelming number. 64% of Democrats do not want Joe Biden to run for re-election in 2024. Here is Joe Biden, late last week, reading his teleprompter cues as part of his speech.
It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and/or political, or maybe precise, not and/or political power.
Here is the occupier of the Oval Office claiming that a 10-year-old girl had to flee her state so she could terminate her presidency.
10 years old. And she was forced to have to travel out of the state to Indiana to seek to terminate the presidency and maybe save her life.
And it seems there's a contest going on for who is the most vacuous, untruthful, or downright racist inside the Biden White House. Let me remind all of you out there of some of Biden's more infamous racist comments.
Have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say?
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
All right, just when you think Biden has the ultimate racist title locked down, here comes his new brain, Karine Jean-Pierre, who said this about herself her first day on the job.
I am obviously acutely aware that my presence at this podium represents a few firsts. I am a black, gay, immigrant woman, the first of all three of those to hold this position.
Whoa, hold on a minute. She lists four things: black, gay, immigrant, woman. Then she says there are only three. Okay, well, forget that. This administration's lack of ability to do simple math is well chronicled, judging by the fiscal calamities that are gripping our nation right now. So Biden's gay, black, immigrant woman was asked her opinion about a case pending before the high court. This case accuses Harvard of discriminating against Asian folks who are being denied admission there. Apparently, the leftists who run these so-called institutions of higher learning, they allegedly prefer to admit underrepresented minorities. So, because Asians in America who oppose the universities discriminating against them because they may win at the high court, Biden's gay black immigrant woman had this to say.
The president has been also clear is that we have to take action. Americans have to make sure that they take their voices to the ballot box. That is the way that we are going to be able to fight back in a way that's effective, in a way that's going to make a difference. We have Republicans who are doing extremes. The president calls them ultra MAGA. They are part of the ultra MAGA wing who are trying to take away the rights of the American people.
Wow. It's extreme. It's Republican and ultra MAGA for folks to not want Asians to be discriminated against. It was meant as an insult, but it wasn't, especially when one considers that MAGA stands for Make America Great Again. Anyway, Biden's new brain wasn't finished making headlines. As you may all have heard, Justice Brett Kavanaugh was forced out of a restaurant where he was dining last week by pro-abortion zealots. Remember, the courts are supposed to be protected from political influences. They are appointed. They are not elected. They should only have fidelity to the rule of law and the Constitution. Thus, real Americans who believe in the Constitution have long sought to protect them from threats, intimidation, and coercion. That was before Team Biden came on the scene.
People should be allowed to be able to do that.
In a restaurant?
If it's outside of a restaurant, if it's peaceful, for sure.
Really?
Peaceful protest. Your first question to me was intimidation.
So these justices,
and
because
violence.
Protesters do not agree with an opinion that they signed on to, have no right to privacy, is what you're saying.
But Peter, this is people have the right to. This is what a democracy is.
Okay. It's not so much privacy there as Ducey was talking about. The fact is that the judiciary, according to the American tradition, since they're not elected by the people, should not be subject to this form of intimidation and coercion. But in reality, nobody in America should be. But judging by Biden's new brain and her response, it appears that Biden's regime wants to change all of that. Karine Jean-Pierre has just green-lighted driving people from restaurants if you disagree with them over their politics. This move by the Democrats will further erode our civilized society and will, of course, well, it's not going to be tolerated by left-wingers if they become targets of a mob. The left-wing Huffington Post gleefully reporting that pro-abortionists are putting out bounties on information on the movements of the Supreme Court justices. Would the left sit still if conservative groups started doing the same thing to target left-wing justices? What if Biden's new brain was targeted at a restaurant herself or members of the Democrat Party? Would they put up with this un-American and uncivil behavior if it were directed toward them? If Democrats wouldn't tolerate this, then why are Republicans tolerating this? The unraveling of the civilized society, another reason why we can no longer afford Democrats. We know what the problem is, my friends. The problem is Democrats. Now we should focus on the solution. Now, for those of you who say the GOP is that solution, a cautionary tale for you. Remember, it was these mainstream never-Trump Republicans who said that Joe Biden was going to be the best alternative to get back to normal in the U.S. It was these members of the GOP, the faux conservatives, who delivered us into the hands of the Biden regime and the Democrat Party. Remember that the next time you fill up your tank, go to the grocery store, when you can't get the items that you want because of the never-ending supply chain crisis. Remember these people and the Democrats that they helped to gain power over us. Democrats equal division. We all know that. Democrats equal deviancy. We all know that. Whether it's on the issue of race, the economy, or the survival of the civilized society, Joe Biden and his political regime, his political party, are the biggest threat from within that our country has ever faced. A unified America, under the Constitution, and an informed and an engaged electorate with a firm reliance on divine providence can defeat the Democrat never-Trump cabal, a group that, well, has our nation teetering on the brink. It's not too late for we, the people, to act, but time is short, my friends.